Call our meeting to order and ask Commissioner Schutte to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please ask the clerk to do the roll call.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Sharon Trask.
I am here. Moving on to item 4, correspondence and organizational business, and ask the clerk to report any correspondence.
We just had one item. A letter was received from the United States Department of the Interior Fish and Wildlife Service regarding the Burrington Neal Jumping Slug Status Assessment.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh at that, but come on, man.
Let's move on to item 4.2. This is the Public Works Bid Award information, and I ask staff to come forward. Good morning.
I'm Aislinn Garner with Public Works, and for our annual solicitations, we have two different call for bids, one for culvert pipe and linings and the other for asphaltic materials. So just announcing those bids that we received. We just received the one bid for culvert pipes and linings, and it is from TV Pipe Solutions, and they have bids on, it's like 10 separate items. I don't know if you want me to read every amount out for those, but we award those bids. They were just the only bidders for that. For culverts, and then for asphaltic materials, we received bids from 3 different agencies. Lakeside Industries submitted 3 bids for 3 different locations. Granite Construction submitted a bid, and Tucci and Sons Incorporated submitted a bid. And we have 5 different items for asphaltic materials. And for road maintenance materials, we award the bids to all vendors, and then they're used on an as-needed basis based on location.
Anyone have questions?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to item 5. This is the time we set aside to give the public the opportunity to address the commission regarding items that are not on today's agenda. If you wish to address the commission, please raise your hand. The chair will recognize you. Please state your name and address before your comments. Do we have any public comments?
I mean, can that be public comments on any issue?
On any issue that's not on the agenda. Yeah. Any comment? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, adoption of today's agenda.
Madam Chair, I move adoption of today's agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Randy? Are you an aye? Are you an aye?
I'm sorry.
Are you in favor?
I did. Yeah, I said aye.
Sorry.
Sorry.
The noise didn't make it to the way down here.
Sorry about that. All right. The agenda is adopted. We have approval of minutes.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of January 13th, 2020 briefing minutes as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve January 13th, 2020 briefing minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Just kidding.
And the minutes are approved. Now we'll move on to item 8, approval of today's agenda. Commissioners will read through the items on the agenda, and members of the audience or the commission can ask questions or have an item removed for a separate discussion and vote. I will read items 8.1 through 8.5. Commissioner Schutte, if you would read 8.6 through 8.10. Commissioner Netherland, if you would read 8.11 through 8.16. 8.1, approval of the resolution deleting resolution number 41-00, reserve account for replacement of the Mason County shops. Item 8.2, approval of the resolution amending the equipment rental and revolving fund. Item 8.3, approval of a resolution implementing fees of $10 for each civil filing fee and $15 for each small claims filing fee in district court, and approval to authorize the county treasurer to forward the amount of revenue collected by these fees to the Dispute Resolution Center of Thurston County on a monthly basis. Item 8.4, approval for the chair to sign the AIG storage tank third-party liability tank guard renewal warranty acknowledgement form to bind coverage effective April 21st, 2020 through April 21st, 2021. Item 8.5, approval to reclassify the data/web technician to a systems administrator and place the incumbent at salary step 6 effective February 1st, 2020.
Item 8.6, approval to have the board deny the petition for vacation of the south half of West Walnut Street, laying north of 121 West Walnut Street in the plat of Moore's addition to Shelton Block 4, lots 1 through 4, based on the request from the City of Shelton and the lack of alternative access routes to the general area in the future. Item 8.7, approval to authorize ER&R to declare certain items, including vehicles and equipment parts, as surplus, and approval to allow ER&R to dispose of these items pursuant to Mason County Code and state laws. Item 8.8, approval to appoint Tim Lincoln and Philip Wolf to a 2-year term on the Transportation Improvement Program Citizens Advisory Panel, known as TIPCAP. Item 8.9, approval to set a hearing on Tuesday, February 18th, 2020, at 9:15 a.m. to consider approving the franchise agreement applications between Mason County and the following: Beacon Point Community Club Incorporated, Cedar View Tracks, Harstein Island Estates, Linwood Community Beach Association, Maggie Lake Water District, Marymount Water System, Triton Head Water Association, and Tuano Tides Community Club. And item 8.10, approval to set a hearing for Tuesday, February 18th, 2020 at 9:15 a.m. to consider approving the franchise agreement application between Mason County and Erickson Lake Homeowners Association to run water lines and appurtenances under and across County Road right-of-way.
Madam Chair, item number 8.11 reads, approval to have the board authorize Public Works to advertise a request for qualifications for hydrologic analysis consult services for North Shore Road / Katy Creek culvert replacement, CRP 1995, North Island Drive culvert replacement, CRP 2011, and North Shore Road Great Bend Creek culvert replacement, CRP 2021, and approval to enter into and sign contracts. Item number 8.12, approval to have the board authorize the following for County Road Projects 2026. CRP 2026, Harstein Island Bridge Deck Repair. A resolution for CRP 2026 for Harstein Island Bridge Deck Repair Project. County engineer to advertise set bid date and award contract. County engineer to announce request for qualifications as needed for consultant services for the project and enter into contract. County engineer and or the chair to sign all pertinent documents for projects and federally funded local bridge program grant. Item number 8.13, approval to appoint Dave Smith as the acting county engineer for Mason County for a period not to exceed 6 months beginning January 23rd, 2020. Item number 8.14, approval to amend resolution number 101-19 to revise the non-represented salary scale range alignment by adding a county surveyor at a salary range 38, a project support service manager at a salary range 32, an engineering and consultant assistant manager at a salary range 30, a senior deputy coroner at salary range 11, eliminating the technical services manager and reducing one engineer full-time equivalent position allotted on the non-represented salary scale, and approving the reclassification of deputy administrator probation services from salary range 33 to juvenile court service deputy administrator at a salary range 35, and placing the incumbent at salary step 5 effective February 1st, 2020, and reclassify the chief deputy at salary range 27 to chief deputy clerk at salary range 29, and placing the incumbent at salary range step 1 effective February 1st, 2020. Item number 8.15, approval of warrants, treasurer's electronic remittance, claims clearing fund, warrants number 8069775 through 8069995, the amount $558,521.72. Item number 8.16, approval to change an existing maintenance 3 position to a maintenance 4 position and change an existing .5 FTE maintenance position to an FTE maintenance 2 position, and approval to post and fill these positions in the facilities department.
All right, thank you. Now that we've read through today's action agenda, are there any items you would like to be removed for a separate vote? Are there any items to be removed by the public for a separate vote? Item 8.6.
Madam Chair, 8.13, please.
Okay. All right, so we have 2 items to remove, 8.6 and 8.13. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the action agenda, removing item 8.6 and removing item 8.13. All the rest to be passed as one motion.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the action agenda, but removing items 8.6 and item 8.13 for a separate discussion and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. That is approved. All right, let's move on to item 8.6 and ask staff to come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Public Works received a request to vacate a portion of West Walnut Street that's located adjacent to and north of 121 West Walnut Street. The request was made by Mary Layton, and she's the owner of the property at 121 West Walnut. The 30-foot portion of Walnut Street that she has petitioned to vacate appears to have never been opened for public use, nor has it been maintained by Mason County for road purposes. There's overhead utility lines. The required $500 deposit was posted by the petitioner with an engineer's report before a public hearing on December 11th, 2019 with the hearings examiner. The city of Shelton has an interest in keeping that street as public right-of-way for possible future use. Also, Mason County Public Works also felt that this is a location that should not be vacated, and the hearings examiner concluded the same.
Any questions for staff? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come forward?
So my name's Mary Layton, and I'm the petitioner for the vacation of this particular street. So I just want to read a brief statement that just outlines, I think, the issues that got buried in the narrative from the hearing examiner. I purchased my property at 121 West Walnut Street in 2016 and knew I needed to replace the existing cedar fencing that was rotting, a deterioration that can take between 20 and 40 years. I had no reason to question the placement of those fences, as they represented a long-term definition of the recognized property lines. Subsequently, I learned that there are irregularities in this area that create an anomaly in how the properties are defined. My property is a part of a plat with lots and blocks that adjoins property that is measured in acres. As a result, the section of West Walnut Street that adjoins the length of my property is only 30 feet wide and not the 60 feet width that exists past my property in the vicinity of 3rd Street. In 2019, a survey by Holman and Associates revealed that this 30-foot section of West Walnut Street was not located where it had previously been indicated. This survey placed this roadway directly at the front of my garage and cutting off the corner of my house. So if you look at the survey markers, you measure over 30 feet and you run a line between 2 of them, it's at the very front of my garage and cuts off the corner of my house. The Mason County Tax Sifter indicates that the buildings on 121 West Walnut Street were originally constructed in 1973. The county required a 25-foot setback from the property line for the buildings to be permitted, built, and approved at that time. It is impossible to find any remedy in this building and original permitting and inspection process, as Mason County does not have these records. This property has changed hands several times since 1973, and since that time, permits have been issued for building permit projects by Mason County, inspections have been made by Mason County personnel, Approvals have been made for these projects, and related documents with the 25-foot setback details have been filed as a part of the Mason County database, providing legitimacy and credibility to this information. But this information is wrong, and this area has been perpetuated by almost 50 years by Mason County personnel, and this error needs to be corrected. There is basically one overall objection to this vacation petition, and which is the concern about future access in this area. Mr. Clevenger, an adjacent property owner, has proposed to develop his acreage into 9 building sites. The Mason County Planning Department informed me that a property owner needs one 30-foot wide access to a maintained county roadway for up to 50 building sites. Mr. Clevenger has had this necessary 30-foot access for many years to his property at a 60-foot section of West Walnut Street in the vicinity of 2nd Street, which is also a 60-foot wide roadway. In addition, Mr. Clevenger also has a 30-foot wide access from his property in the vicinity of a 60-foot section of West Walnut Street at 3rd Street. From that point on, over to where 4th Street, which is not developed, it is only 30 feet wide. He has more than sufficient access to his property for this planned development, according to Mason County personnel. As for the City of Shelton's urban growth area and for Mason County, these objections their objections in denying this vacation petition relate to concern about future access, and they're both generic and speculative. Taking a look at the specific circumstances related to the possible development of this 30-foot section of West Walnut Street make it clear that it is not now, nor will ever be, a viable option for increasing access. First, to develop this road would require 60 feet of property. Since the 30-foot section of Walnut Street already cuts off the corner of my house, widening it 60 feet will take out the rest of my house. This would also create a redundancy in relation to currently existing roadways. Widening this section of West Walnut Street to 60 feet would place it parallel and only 70 feet away from an already existing 60-foot section of West Poplar Street. You could literally spit from one street to the next. In addition, it would be necessary to build currently undeveloped 4th Street to 60 feet wide to complete the access, and this would place the intersection of this roadway with North Cliff Road directly at the current stop sign where West Poplar Street intersects North Cliff Road. This would create a traffic bottleneck that would not improve access to this area. Building this section of West Walnut Street and connecting it to 4th Street is not viable now, nor will it be viable in the future. Such redundancy is ridiculous when there are large sections of the county that currently have no access at all. Leaving the status of this section of West Walnut Street as it is by denying this vacation petition is essentially making a decision to condemn my property, as having a street run through my house has significant consequences. I'm asking that you approve this petition to vacate the section of West Walnut Street as a simple solution to solve a serious problem with no long-term consequences for potential future access for anyone.
Thank you. Come forward.
You know, I agree that her house was built too close to the right-of-way, but that's happened many places in the county in the previous decades. And, you know, I don't know if there isn't any real remedy to it other than just accepting where they are. Access to my property, I'm Brian Clevenger. I own the property adjacent to the right-of-way on the other side, and this right-of-way is important to the future development of my property. The access I have on the other side is restricted by location to the well, and really won't give me adequate access to the property for future development. And I object to it will pretty much stop the future development on my property, not be able to come in this other way. So I object to it. I think that denying her petition is the right thing to do. And as a matter of fact, bringing the road into my property isn't going to affect her house, because the access to my property will be won't come in that far. So I think you made the right choice.
Do we have further discussion or comment? Questions or comment?
will. I appreciate where you're coming from, but I hope you also understand that currently the county owns that property. And if we give away things that the people own, there should be a value that goes with that as well, perhaps to sell it or purchase it. Other than that, it's a gift into public funds. In this situation, although the rules may have been 20-plus feet at that time, even then, you could get a 5-foot setback just by an administrative decision, as they can right now to allow you to do it. The hearings examiner can even do less than that if that's what they so choose. But you have to go by the laws and the rules in order to get that. People have their properties and buy properties counting on access that they saw when they were purchasing it. If there is an issue with your building being built too close to the road, you need to talk to your realtors who dealt with it at the time and see if they knew, because if they didn't know, then they're not liable, but if they knew, then they have some liability. We also have other remedies through your title company to make sure that things were done right if there's a cloud of any sorts on your building and your property. But other than that, I have a hard time supporting taking something that belongs to the people and just giving it to somebody because they'd like to have that space. Since I've been a commissioner, I don't think I've ever okayed that or voted yes for it. And I just wanted you to know that so that you actually just have an answer instead of just voting over the top of you.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move approval of item 8.6, the approval to have the board deny the petition for vacation of the south half of West Walnut Street laying north of 121 West Walnut Street in the plat of Moore's addition to Shelton Block 4, lots 1 through 4, based on the request from the City of Shelton and the lack of alternative access routes to the general area in the future.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to have the board deny the petition for vacation of the south half of West Walnut Street lying north of 121 West Walnut Street in the plat of Moore's addition to Shelton Block 4, lots 1 through 4, based on the request from the City of Shelton and the lack of alternative access routes to the general area in the future. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item 8.13. Approval to appoint Dave Smith as the acting county engineer for Mason County for a period not to exceed 6 months, beginning January 23rd, 2020, and ask staff to come forward.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
As you know, our county engineer, Diane Sheasley's last day will be Thursday this week, Friday. And as you know, we need to appoint a new county engineer and report to the County Road Administration Board. At this time, we've had an advertisement out and we'll go through an interview and selection process, but in an interim basis, need to appoint an acting county engineer. And Dave Smith, our professional licensed engineer, is willing to serve and will do a fine job on the interim basis, and we're recommending appointment of Dave Smith.
Thank you. You have questions for staff?
Just a couple of questions.
Yes.
The way this is written, it says for a period not to exceed 6 months for what? What happens at the end of 6 months if you don't have a qualified applicant? You have a deadline on this. I don't understand. Would you just extend this?
We would, yes, excuse me, I'm sorry, Tom. We would revisit this and extend, correct.
Okay. It's just unusual to see that not to exceed 6 months. And Dave, this is such an important position. I guess I've never seen or spoken to Dave Smith. He's going to be. Can you talk a little bit about his qualifications, experience?
Absolutely. Yes. Dave's a licensed professional engineer, as I mentioned, and has been with the county for some time now as our transportation and traffic engineer, and has had extensive experience both with commissioners and various transportation and traffic items, and as well with the public, and serves on our Peninsula Regional Transportation Organization as the TAC member and currently as the chair. So Dave has had great experience out and about in the community, attended various neighborhood meetings dealing with traffic and engineering issues. And in typical Diane style, she's been doing a fabulous job in bringing Dave up to speed on all of the current projects and activities and doing best to ensure Dave's success and a smooth transfer.
Is this Mr. Smith's first opportunity, first job opportunity in Mason County, as he has prior experience with other counties?
Yes, absolutely, yes. Mhm. Also, I should mention that Dave has attended, as a few of our folks have, the county engineer training. So although that's for county engineers, you might think in your mind, but it's very important for other folks within the organization to be able to understand the responsibilities and duties of the county engineer. And Dave is familiar with that and has attended that training as well. And our County Road Administration Board is lending great support as also in ensuring a smooth transition.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Tom.
Thank you. Do we have any questions further questions or
I
comments?
have comments.
Okay.
Good figure.
Thank you. I do not take gentle hints. I didn't mean to cast any aspersions because I don't know this individual, but the county engineer is way up there, top tier, as far as I'm concerned, with an enormous amount of money at stake, and it's not something that people can just step into. As item 8.12 would verify, there's a lot of sign-offs for a lot of funding that takes place, and I think it's appropriate when we get a new person in here or at least a new person that the public is not familiar with, and will be calling from time to time if they have need to, that they at least know who that person is. It's just a courtesy that I thought would naturally be extended here. Also, there are 10 positions in the county that are unfilled right now, so people are not rushing in the engineering department. We have a position that opened as April 2nd, 2019, and that's still not filled. So this could, and that was kind of justifying my concern, this could go on for some time until you get the qualified person that you want, and that is capable of doing the project engineering position duties. Also, I would like to say that the revolving doors of employees, especially when you come into a really important key positions like county engineer, is very unstabilizing to the entire system and to the budget process also. People coming in and going out, we have a tendency to say, well, they found a better position and it's more money, and we can't pay salaries that are comparable, for instance, to Thurston County. But that's not the only reason that people stay in these positions. Sometimes people stay in their positions even though there's better opportunities outside, because they love working in that position. They love working with the stability and the security and the relationships that they establish. It's not easy for people to get up and then walk into another position, even though I know that that's what's normal these times. People change jobs 5 times or more over their career. But the people who apply for government work are really not, are they looking more for stability than they're looking for an opportunity. So I think you need to take this into consideration. That I bring to your attention, I've done this before, about the survey that was the Mason County Employee Survey Report, the Governmental Studies and Services, and I've been kind of going over this from time to time to see if there have been any changes that would indicate that the workplace environment would be more comfortable or more attractive to people, so that they would want to stay here. And I don't know if any efforts have gone, you've made any efforts along those lines, but there were certain goals that were set out in this report that clearly need to be met. And some of the comments that were made from the people taking the survey, which were county employees, were a bit disturbing. And I won't read them because I think they're that disturbing. So I guess what the takeaway here is there any effort by any person in top tier management to address these type of issues, to make sure that they do not continue, because money's important, but it's not everything. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just so you know, I wish he was here. If Dave was here, you'd know which one he is. No, I guarantee you, he's the guy that's been in charge. Every time we had a speed change, every time we had any of that stuff happen, like Pickery Road, that was him that was running all that. If you saw his face, it's that guy, okay? Just so you know. Yeah.
Is there any other public?
No. Is there any other public comment?
Madam Chair, I move for approval to appoint Dave Smith as the acting county engineer for Mason County for a period not to exceed 6 months beginning January 23rd, 2020.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Dave Smith as the acting county engineer for Mason County for a period not to exceed 6 months beginning January 23rd, 2020. Discussion?
Yeah, I just want to point out, I've had the opportunity to work with Dave for a lot of years. I find him to be extremely knowledgeable, a very, very good person that works extremely well with the community. He's got such a light side of him. I enjoy working with him. And I have learned over the years that plays a huge part in that role, doesn't it, in dealing with the public. But also, he is extremely qualified with a PE, which that's a big thing around here. We're hoping to expand on having more of that.
Yeah, just to add on to that, Dave is the consummate professional. He's been very helpful with a number of priorities for the commission in our various districts. Most recently in my district, Dave and Diane have been working closely with DOT to get some increased pedestrian safety measures implemented in Hoodsport as that area continues to grow, both in tourism and just general residential growth and traffic. And Dave has been, is now going to continue running point on that and has, I think, really strong working relationships with folks both in the county and at the state level and regionally, as Loretta mentioned. His participation on Peninsula
Regional Transportation
PIEIO.
Organization.
Yeah.
I'm on it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to know the name either.
Dave is well connected and well positioned to serve our county well, whether it be for this period of 6 months or in the future beyond that. Also, just address a couple of the other issues. First, just say not everybody leaves public sector employment for other public sector employment. Oftentimes, the private sector has other benefits that go beyond anything a public entity could offer, and so I just kind of keep that in mind too in your thoughts. But I'll say we had a lengthy exit interview with Diane to discuss some of those issues, in particular when it comes to recruitment and retention. We've been working with Loretta, our director, on that as well. And as you look through the list of some of the things that we approved today, is a bit of a reorg in positions for Public Works that hopefully will provide some efficiency and some much needed support on the professional engineering side as we continue to evaluate ways to recruit and retain qualified engineers to our county. So it's an iterative process. We rely heavily on the professionals that we have in charge at Public Works to provide their input to us on steps to take, and it's not lost on us that we have some room to improve on that. So,
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
I'd like to go on and further state that when I first got into office, I read the survey, and quite a few highlights. The yellow is very popular in that. But those are items that I feel that we are addressing. I'm very excited for Dave to come take a step up for more responsibility. So sad to see Diane go, but understand that there's a big world out there. It's not just Mason County for some reason. I don't know why. But so excited for your future. Sad to see you go though, but excited for Public Works. I think that they're on the right path, and I think that Mason County's on the right path. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Yeah, passes. All right, let's move on to item 9. Department heads and elected officials. Does anyone like to come forward and speak to us today? Yes. Come ahead. Yes, please.
Okay, with the chances of not getting all the correct names in here, I just, I wanted to recognize a couple people because I know that in the last, I don't know, number of months, there's been a lot of changes in the county and with our vehicles and things like that. But I was up there Friday having some things done. I wanted to mention that over the last 13 years now, almost 13 years, for us that actually driving the cars, we have a lot, I guess we have a lot riding on it. And when we're moving along and expecting a lot out of them, I just wanted to recognize the guys that actually are turning the wrenches up at the shop over the last few years for us. Kevin's now over in the sign shop. Kevin was incidentally a few years ago had to make a custom piece for my car that was outstanding. I'd like to take it with me when I have to turn that car in. Delbert, I've known him forever, and the guy can fix anything from a Matchbox car to a 747, and done a great job. And Chris, the new kid, I call him the kid. I think he's embarrassed by that because he looks so young. But
yeah.
I unfortunately thought he was somebody's child one day when I was up there asking for a mechanic, and he says, I am the mechanic. What a great job that Chris has done. Another kid up there, Eric, was a student of mine when he was in the 5th grade. And also, I know Gary kind of runs the part of it now. But Gary did our tires and things for us for years. Again, just, you know, I know a lot of changes have taken place, but I just want to credit those folks for a lot of years of keeping us riding well on those cars. It's not easy to do, and you have a lot of faith in them as you're moving along the car at a high speed that everything's going to stay together. And I just thought in the midst of all this, I felt like they kind of got in the middle and left out. So just thank you and recognize them for the work that they've done for us.
Thank you. Any other department head like to come forward?
Good morning again. So I should have come up a little earlier and said some great things about Dave, but he has been in the profession for, I think, over 30 years now, because he started the same day at WashDOT as Dale Severson. I know he's got over 30 years and getting ready to retire. So he's worked for WashDOT, City of Bremerton, and I believe he's been 4 or 5 years at Mason County now, so he's familiar with the county, and he will do an amazing job. I also want to thank the commissioners. We did have, as Commissioner Sheedy said, a rather lengthy exit interview, and they've been very supportive of changes that we have brought forward that are not just because I'm leaving. They took about 8 months. They've been in the making of working with all the professionals in Public Works, talking about, okay, what can make you be the best that you could be at your job, and looking at how we could reorg to take some of the pressures off of the positions that might be a little overwhelmed right now, and pick up a little bit of the slack with the positions that might have a little bit of capacity. And so hopefully that will make things a little better for everyone, and I appreciate the support that we've had from the commission in making those changes.
Do we have anyone else that would like to come forward? No? All right, we will move on now to item 10. We have no hearing scheduled. So we'll move on to item 11, board reports and calendars. I'll ask Commissioner Netherland to go first.
Okay, this last week I met with some folks up at Public Works on some different issues. I met with the director of the ARC. Had a long, lengthy, interesting meeting with the Homeowner Association in River Hill, and that was pretty interesting. There was a lot of things that a member of the community had connected that has no connection. That was actually scary, and they had the people a little worried. Just so the people know, the county does collect the money for the fire departments and the ports and other entities like that, but we do not employ them, and they do not work for us, and there is no benefit that we collect or put on them by their actions in a way to where we can give them raises. I just assure you, none of that is happening. It's just not within our power or authority. But it was a big thing, and there was a lot of people that believed it, and so I need to clarify that now. We do not control the fire departments. They have elected officials. We do not control the school districts. They have elected officials. We do not control the ports, even the water departments and stuff like that, unless it's Mason County's water in Beards Cove or River Hill. We just don't have those authorities, and anybody that puts that connection doesn't understand how it works. they just give us the money, then we put it out through them. Our treasurer and our auditor and stuff handles all that. With that being said, also had, I met with a couple of potential new business owners for the north end and one for the south end, which I'm hoping to try and help them to get open down here. I met with Republic Services as well as members of the school district. There's an issue going on up north. This next week, we have a briefing right after this, Mason Transit Authority meeting later today, North Mason Chamber of Commerce luncheon, behavioral health integrated discussion, cemetery board, another celebration of life for another great community member, briefings, the North Mason Community Voice, and we start all over again.
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, thank you. Kind of piggyback on Commissioner Netherland's first remarks about our not having any oversight or authority over other government entities in the county, and he said that we derive no benefit from collecting the money for these organizations, and boy, ain't that the truth. It's quite the opposite in many cases.
Yep.
You get one property tax bill that breaks everything down, and it all gets sent to our county treasurer and then doled out from there appropriately, and it's can be confusing for folks, but just have them go back to their high school civics class and do a refresher on separation of powers, and I think everybody would be good to go with that. But it's often a concern that I hear about, and good to know Commissioner Netherland as well, and just kind of remind people that they have a whole other set of commissioners in these different organizations that they can go and
It's
talk
not all
to.
our fault,
Not
is that
just-
what you're saying?
Yeah,
No.
yep, yeah. Looking ahead this week, we do have closed an executive session after today's meeting. Also have Mason Transit Authority Housing and Behavioral Health Advisory Board this week. I'll be hosting a mobile office hours at Fire District 4's Camilchi Station on Thursday. And then I have a variety of constituent meetings peppered throughout the rest of this week. And then this weekend, from Friday through Sunday, I'll be attending the Roanoke Conference in Grays Harbor County.
Thank you. So today, we do have the executive session following this meeting. Tonight is the Mason Transit Board meeting. Tomorrow morning, I have a Memorial Hall meeting. And then I will spend the afternoon in Olympia for the with the Washington State Association of Counties into the evening, actually. Thursday, I'll be in Olympia again for to be on campus for session and talk to some of our legislators. And then AAA, so Area Agency on Aging meeting that afternoon. Bard's Bounty ribbon cutting is a new place in Chilton. That's kind of cool. Play games, you can watch. There'll be skits and food, so it'll be kind of cool to go to. And then also I will be in Ocean Shores at the Roanoke Conference Friday, Saturday, returning home Sunday. And then that brings us back to Monday. And I think that's it. All right.
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
So moved. We're adjourned.